G'day, listeners. This episode is proudly brought to you by our sponsors, supshq.com.au. Use BWB15 at checkout to receive 15% off and direct shipping. G'day, listeners. Welcome back to another fantastic episode that I am absolutely certain is going to blow your mind, as it always does, because we are just full of pure wisdom and only a little bit of banter, or flip that, we're actually just full of shit and slightly bits of evidence. Welcome back to another episode, joined by my usual co-host, the bearded Scaff. How are we doing, my friend?
Yeah, not too bad. Can't complain. I mean, if I would or if I could, no one will care.
No one listens.
It's like, it's the old, like, what is it, 40 cents call our ACV, but with inflation, it's now 80 cents.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's like,
no one's going to listen.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. Surely there's someone out there that will listen. If you'll listen to me, just DM me and tell me you'll listen. Just entertain it.
Just let me know that you're wanted.
Yeah.
I'm wanted.
Make me feel loved. No, man, I'm good. Life's good. Can't really complain. I mean, a fucking busy couple of weeks coming up, but yeah. And then it's like coming up to Brisbane, and then you message me. Oh, by the way, you want to come to the comp? Okay. Totally forgot States was that weekend, but that's fine.
literally the day you land.
Hey, yeah, like fly up Friday, comp Saturday, fly to Mackay, comp Sunday, fly back to Brisbane Sunday, and then again for some weird reason I'm flying out at 7 p.m. Tuesday night. I don't know why I did that.
I know. I bet for a fact, because Tuesday's always cheap day. It's just a cheaper nighttime flight.
But it's usually cheap. Like usually there's a morning block and then a night block that's cheap, and usually during the day is the more expensive block. So I mean, if I wanted to, I would have just taken the morning, but I have no idea why I booked it late. Maybe I thought in my head we'll train or we'll do a podcast or something. I don't know. I'm sure I had a reason in my head.
I mean, we can. That's fine.
Yeah, I just don't remember what my reason was. Like, for the life of me, I'm like,
it's getting to like Wednesday. You've got like some client waiting for you to show up somewhere.
Yeah, well, I was doing my mentee calls yesterday, and I was like, oh, they're like, oh, so same time next week, and I'm like, actually,
well,
I may need to move it because apparently I'm flying out at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. I don't know.
The plane.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll do it at the airport. I'll be that guy.
You'll be that. Yeah, 2 episodes after we rip on those guys. We'll be those 100%,
guys. I'll be that guy. No, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, at least we're on the same time zone, like the same times now. Makes it a bit easier.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck you were talking about. You guys were on daylight savings like a week ago?
Yeah, it stopped a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. So at least now I can, if I do the calls tomorrow, If I do the calls on the Tuesday, at least I can do them like during the day. Same time, it wouldn't be a problem, and then go to the airport.
Yeah,
or like do them from your place.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, just do them from your office. Kick Brooklyn out. See you later.
Hey, this is my office now. There's no one else in here.
Like, sorry, darling. Get
out. See you, bye.
It's like, I'm going to be in the office. I said get out.
Any swings in this week?
I actually took the old man down to Heritage, my golf club, on. When did I go? Monday. Took him and the brother-in-law out, which was fun. The weather was a bit shit, but didn't rain, which was always nice. Yeah, it was good. Bit busy on the front. 9 people fucking ahead of us, stuffing up our times and shit. Like the people that teed off in front of us got there late, so then it just set everyone back. And the first time Dad's played like 18 holes, so it's like he was like, freaking out like everyone does the first time they play, and you got people up your ass. So it's just like when we got to the front, we got to the back 9, and they had already gone in to get food at the halfway point, so after the 9th. So then we had the whole back 9 to ourselves. There's no one in front of us, so we're just like, fuck it, let's just have fun. It was great. Played 2 over on the back, which was nice.
Yeah, nice. Not bad.
Yeah, I'll take that. I think I hit like 10 out of 14 fairways. I'm like, yeah, here we go. Tiger Woods, come at me.
Syncing up with the new driver.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I don't think I played the driver that much. Now that I know the course like really well, I'm like, I don't need the driver. I'll just play 3 wood. We're good.
Hey, 9-9 every time.
Just
I'm not hearing objections to the 9-9 every time.
7-iron every shot. Just
we're on the green. 9-9.
100%.
You're 1 putt away. 9-9.
But yeah, man, it's been it was good. It was good. I can't complain. Try and get in some golf next. Well, not this weekend. Coming the following, hopefully when I get back. So we'll see.
Nice. So you put some deadlifts this morning. What's up with that?
I got bored. I was like, oh, fuck it. Felt like something different.
Hey Joe, fuck you, I'm doing deadlifts.
It's kind of like, can I still deadlift? Like, I know I can still deadlift. So I was like, oh, fuck it. I'll deadlift. Do a set of deadlifts and then just go to the rest of my program. So I thought, fuck it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just like, remind people that I still do
Yeah.
powerlifting every now and then, like coaching. So it's like,
just one set of stimulus and get
the,
out.
the funniest thing was I was like, I put my belt on. I didn't adjust it when I was at home. So I put it on with my jumper on and I'm like, this is still too big. I'm like, damn it. Like 93 kilos. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. Like this belt doesn't fit with a hoodie on. I'm like, okay. Should probably sort that out if I'm going to use a belt again. But
Well,
anyway.
Joe, it's time to start growing again, mate.
Bruh, I'm telling you, I haven't been this lean. Like I was this lean. No, I was this weight last time, but I wasn't this lean last time.
Yeah.
And we started a growth phase, and he's like, "No, we're gonna keep going." It's like, motherfucker, like I'm a peacock. You got to let me fly.
He's like the polar opposite of me to you. I'm just like, yeah, I think a tidy up is due, and you're just like, shut up, cunt. Another fight. I've got this feeling. I can see what you're doing. Every check-in, you're like, yeah, look, no, it's only another 4 or 5 weeks. You just push through. We're good. But that 4 or 5 weeks keeps being 4 or 5 weeks, and I'm like, this motherfucker. I was like, you're just gonna keep saying that till I start to anticipate 4 to 5 weeks, and then it never comes.
That's how you know your clients, bro.
It's like the first time you accidentally watch gay porn and the chicks never turn up. That's gonna be you with my cut face. Nah, bro, 4 weeks. Okay, so like,
dude,
okay, end of April.
We've had this conversation. You got to stop looking at gay porn, bro.
Oh, I didn't say it was my first and only time. I just said it was the first time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just stop. Come on, man. Be better.
But yeah, and I was like, I see what you're fucking doing, which is fine because in my head I'm like, oh yeah, 4 weeks I can handle that. And then another 4 weeks goes, I'm like, yeah, 4 weeks I can handle that. It's still not too fat. It's not that bad.
It's like I said, we have an amount of fat we're going to allow for, and then once we sort of go past that, well, then we're like, okay, maybe we need to pull it in. Like maybe we just need to tighten it up a little bit.
It's good though. It's good because I'm like, what are we now? 4,500 cows, I think it is, about 4,400 cows, which is good. But like, man, when supplementation is in, it doesn't even touch the sides. Like on my day spaced out properly, I'm not too busy from work. I'm not just trying to backload food. I'm just like, oh, bruh, this is easy.
Yeah, no backloading food. We don't want to do that.
Yeah, we don't do that. We don't want to do that.
The good thing is when I come up to Brisbane, apparently, watch it like completely change. It's going to be good weather. It's going to be like mid to late 20s. That's awesome.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, apparently. But it's probably going to change. Let's be real.
It went from like 31 degrees last week to a 12 this morning. I was like, oh.
I don't mind. Look, I don't mind a cold morning. It's just whatever the peak weather is. So like, I'm looking at the weather app. Friday is going to be 28. Beautiful. Saturday 27 and Sunday 29. Like I'm here for it.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Because more so like when we take steps, I'm usually wearing like just a shirt because I will drip sweat even at night. I'm like dripping sweat. Went out to do steps at like 7 o'clock of the night, and there was like actual wind chill, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" Brisbane's been like playing holdout for all winter so far. Where are we? Summer, autumn? No, we're autumn. Yeah. Coming into winter, it's supposed to like start getting that nice like crispy breeze. Brisbane's been like 30-degree days for like the last 4 months, and I'm like, all right, cool. This is no different. And then I know we're all of a sudden like, oh, by the way, here is a -10 wind chill, and I'm like, yeah, sick.
Yeah,
I'm dressed for this to walk.
I mean, yeah, look, it's I've been saying yesterday, I think it was yesterday morning here in Melbourne, I'm convinced like I had menopause, but then apparently I'm not the only one, so we're good. Like I woke up early, put a jumper on, it was fucking freezing. Halfway through like coaching, it's like hot. Then you get out of the gym, you're like, it's freezing again. Then you put a jumper on, then you go to the gym to train, and then you get really hot again, and then you put a jumper on again. I'm like, I'm fucking confused. Like, and then the sun's out. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Am I a 45-year-old female?
Man, like, surely open up a study, male menopause. I'm sure it's a thing. We can get Brad Schoenfeld to do
it. We'll pick two well-trained men that have lifted weights for 1 week.
He can look in the mirror and bloody, work it out himself. Anyway. Anyway, that's clearly not triggering.
Scott's favorite people. It's gonna be a weekly segment of who's Scott's favorite person.
There's like one person in that entire group that I like. The rest of them are freaking flogs. Anyway.
So what he's referring to here, people, is I just like to see dumb studies now come through, especially as you start to study studies and research, and you're like, this is fucking dumb, but I know it's by the people Scaff likes, so I send it to him. Yeah, but then I send my review of why it's stupid, and he's just like, yeah, fucking dumb, bro.
I do get
I
messages.
send
people
an
like,
analytical breakdown and articulate it well, and Scap's just like, yeah, it's fucking dumb, bro.
yeah, I just haven't got time. I'm just like, I don't care. Like, stop.
I
people,
know you don't care.
people are like, you haven't ranted in a while. I'm like, I just, I'm trying to be positive.
It's a new era.
It's 2023, people. Stop encouraging me to be negative.
New month, new me.
It literally, like, fucking new day, new hour, new me. That's how this is going at the moment, bro. Like,
We
for
call
fuck's sake.
that bipolar.
Literally. I mean, there was this one time. No. Like,
Oh man, I saw the most fucking triggering story this morning. For me, in the field of what I study,
yeah.
I watched someone literally describe manic depressive disorder, or sorry, major depressive disorder, which is a new terminology for basically clinical depression and the different like spectrum of clinical depression. Refer to solving this as it's just like checkpoints when you go for a run. You know, when you have that run and you just go to the next power pole, the next power pole, the next power pole. That's all it is. That's how you solve it. Like
Yeah.
it's just like you just get up and do this and that's it. And then you do the next thing, that's it. And then I'm like, holy fucking shit. You just literally he he touched on serotonin for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Completely obviously went out of his depth, so he just left it alone. And then was like, all you got to do is just, first thing, wake up, watch some motivational videos, get yourself fired up and ready to go. Watch someone who's doing better than you when you already feel like a piece of shit. That'll help. Obviously didn't use those words, but I was like, oh, can't. You can't see why this is fucking dumb. Like,
watch Huberman do a podcast on
it. Yeah. Just solve your depression with a positive motivational video about how everyone else around you is succeeding and you're a piece of shit. And that definitely won't reinforce negative thought patterns. No way. It'll be great.
He'll just tell you to get some more sleep and that your GH pulses at different rates and then all this other bullshit. And you're like, yeah, okay, it's completely been debunked, but that's fine, bro. That's fine.
Optimize it with a 4-hour sauna into a 3-hour ice bath session.
Dude's on crack, and then he'll tell you not to eat carbs because apparently sugar's addictive and it's as addictive as like we've had these studies already done, bro. Like, come on. Anyway, let's not get into that.
Like,
even though everyone's like, get into it, like, no,
yeah,
no, we'll be here all day.
We don't have 4 hours; we have 1.5.
And we're supposed to be talking about peak week.
Yeah,
we're trying to stay on topic here.
See, I'm a little bit on the fence because there's that Holmes guy who does the same thing where he just opens a platform to talk to people and allow them to communicate their topic or point of what is being popular at the moment. And, I've seen people on there literally say like sugars from grapes are bad because it's fructose is toxic. And he obviously doesn't know enough about nutritional or biochemistry to know that that's completely wrong. I would hope he knows enough to say that's dumb, but like he lets the conversation flow to get these people to talk. And then you can't have to go on there and be like, this is fucking dumb. This guy's an idiot.
Yeah.
But Huberman, you look at as like an educated individual, like you run a lab in Stanford. When you start having people come and tell you that things like sugar is addictive, when you apparently study the brain and can see for a fact the brain doesn't react the same way to crack as it does to sugar, you should probably be able to go, you're pretty wrong here. I don't think that sugar is addictive in the same way that you think it is.
He probably also is one of those people that believes you shouldn't eat it if it's got a chemical you can't pronounce. I'm sure. I bet you he's one of those guys.
Oh, fuck, that'd hurt my soul. I just like the way that woman referred to sugary drinks being bad because it breaks the blood-brain barrier faster. Okay, cool.
It's like,
does that change the calorie rate of that sugar? Or
and then they'll probably try and start talking about tryptophan and shit and how it does, all that sort of stuff. Like, yeah, okay, bro. Shut up. You don't know how to spell tryptophan. Shut up.
Amino acids.
Yeah, bro. People just need to be shit in the head.
Anyway, we'll ramble forever.
Yes, let's not.
On a side note, though, trying to have a really good reflection. This week has been fucking massive. Like, legitimately massive. We have 6 clients starting up this week with no drop-offs, nothing fucking changing the business, like jinx and touch wood, and I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. But fucking, I was like, when like followers or like people just, how do you kind of call them like, if a follower that 100% engages with you to sign up and a follower and like someone who's absolutely not going to sign up is black and white, you got like those grays in between where they're just lingering and they don't you don't know they're even lingering until they message through. I had a guy message out of absolutely nowhere because I reacted to one of his stories, and I think he was pulling a lift, or actually I think it was just something funny. And it was just a follower who just engaged with some of my stuff before, but not in any of the sense of like, I want coaching. Out of nowhere, he just comes out and he's like, "Oh, bro, I've been following your stuff and we've engaged a few times, but coaching one of my friends and they're getting sick results. I'm looking for a new coach because I'm done coaching myself." I was like, "Okay, sweet." And
Makes
he's
life
like,
easy. Good.
he's like, what do I do to go like move forward from here? I was like, booking a consult for preferably next week because this week is fucked. And he's like, "All right, done." I was like, "Okay, cool." Like, and don't get me wrong, the dude's fucking jacked. I'm like, I looked at him like, sweet, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
But it was more so just like, I don't know, it's like life and business is getting to that point that I built for. And
Yeah.
it's like all that shit, like, the first 15 months of just sucking absolute dicks and balls and copping it in the face. And you're just like, yeah, eventually we'll get there. Eventually it'll happen. Like, you just got to keep putting in the reps and like turning up and showing up and doing the stuff you love doing. But it's like, that actually was what happened. It
Yeah.
turns out when you do your job that you love
Yeah.
ethically and show up for your clients, that other people see it.
Yeah, when you look after your clients, it just makes life easier to get more clients.
and get results.
Yeah, who would have thought?
Yeah, I was like starting to look at like the actual, like, I don't know, me being me. I'm like, I could always be a better coach. What's next to study? I need to learn more about lipolytics. I need to learn more about androgens. I need to learn more about this and how to interact these two systems. But then you just go back and like simplify and look at the actual results you're getting. Like, okay, but even with all that advanced knowledge, even the basics here are still working, and these guys are getting sick results.
Yeah, that's literally it. Just keep it simple. Like, if as a coach, like if you want to learn more, I'm all for learning more. Like, I'm the last person to say don't go learn more because, hello, it's me. But at the same time, it's like you still have to be able to apply it, and it still has to get you results, which gets you clients. Because at the end of the day, that's what comes first if you're running your own online business. And if you're not, and if you're employed by someone, by all means, go do what you want. Like, you have a steady paycheck, like fuck, go ham. But
yeah,
when you're
just use the quiet
self-employed,
periods during your paid period to do research and other stuff that I didn't do.
when you have the when you have a self-employed business, I can't even speak English. When you have your own business where you're self-employed, time becomes the limiting factor, right? Because you're always trying to pay for time. So it's like, man, get results that'll buy you more time because you'll have more income, which will give you more leverage, and you'll be able to leverage time. When you leverage time, then you can start to learn. It's just a process. People just want, everything at the start. It's like, and then it's always, I never know enough. I'm going to do this. It's like, no, you know enough. Just start.
Yeah.
Just fucking do it.
Yeah, sure. Maybe you don't know enough to work with an Olympic track athlete right now.
Just
but
put up that Instagram post. Like, fuck, man, do something. Like, Jesus. Anyway,
I mean, that little premise, like we now have Phil working with us once or twice a month, and per episode we're getting like 8 to 10 videos plus the video. Like, sorry, we're getting 8 to 10 snippets plus the video itself that goes up on YouTube that we use to market and say, hey guys, like, even if you don't want coaching or you want to know what we're about, I literally do free info in the training session whilst I'm training. So A, you can see me train hard, and that's the standard I expect of my clients. But then also B and C, I drop free info. So go watch those videos. And then from that, we take snippets and dump them on other platforms. But
exactly
now we don't have to do it because he does it for us.
Exactly. I mean, it makes it easy when you can literally do that and just pay someone to do it, because then it's one thing less that you have to do, which gives you time to go do something else.
Yeah. So now I can put back in my uni degree.
Money. Well, yeah, exactly. And hopefully that something else is more productive to what it is that you need to do or want to do. So, but that's just basics.
Yeah. But, basics aren't sexy and don't sell a course. So,
that's also very true.
Use my 6-figure template to, I'm literally at the point where I'm like considering, because I saw Hormozy post something really good. He's like, literally just give away the secrets without giving away the secrets. He's like, that's pretty much what we basically do here, right? Like, we give away so many fucking secrets that cunts think are like the bee's knees of bells and whistles of coaching. And we're just like, yeah, he'd do this. Like, there you go do that. Chances are, even if you do it by yourself, you're still going to need a coach because you won't do it right.
Exactly right. But it's funny because you may as well start. If you can't afford to do the coach or whatever, just start it. Figure out what you're going to do wrong, then go get someone and pay for something more specific. And that's where like the whole mentoring thing comes in. But we've had this conversation a billion times. So let's talk about Peak Week.
Yes. Help us, help you, but also
like we've done this a billion times. Peak Week, go.
Right. So this week. Well, no. not really a rant. This one's actually, I think, it's just be a good educational topic because it is peak week for Queensland. It is a season finally for me that I am not actually training for, but I just get to focus on my team and my clients, which is going to be awesome. So we've got Michael coming into show 1 on Saturday. And I thought, given that it's going to be relative to most of the listeners who are between Melbourne and Queensland based, Victoria, Queensland based, that we talk about peak weeks and some dumb shit and some stuff that people get wrong or get right or overcomplicate or try to do stupidly, if that was the term you want to use. But
it's a very significant term.
What are we actually looking at with? I think there's like the biggest thing to kind of get going, I guess, is like what we're actually looking for in peak week, right? So when it comes to stage, the body is generally depleted by the time we get to stage condition. I mean, you're genuinely stage conditioned. Like I would say, Michael, stage conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
When you're genuinely depleted and the muscle cell is empty, you have to understand that the muscle cell, each individual muscle cell, contains triglycerides and glucose.
Mm-hmm.
They have fuel sources that the muscle cell can use for energy, convert to ATP, go through the whole process of beta oxidation, things like that. Triglycerides and intramuscular triglycerides can be stored for fat cells. Now, those things are depleted. They're empty. They're void by the time you get to stage, realistically, unless you're a fucking superhuman, you can run 5,000 calories during prep. So the overall look, when we talk about things like flat versus full, empty versus full, sorry, the look or appearance of the muscle itself when it comes to stage needs to be improved because the client is basically drained. So by the time they get to peak week, the idea is to have them in a position where they are going to soak up and the muscle cells are going to absorb and take in the glycogen and the triglycerides or your fats and basically fill and expand to a point where with water, sodium, potassium, they look good. The muscle cell is full. They have a larger pump capacity. You're able to contract and look better. The muscle holds well. It presents a nice, dry, hard look on stage. The thing is, most of peak week strategies only really work if you're already lean. And if you're already really lean, you don't need to do too much to get it right. I find the issue is people try to over-complicate, over-sexualize, or over-fantasize peak weeks, thinking that they are really like these super manipulative, catchy, last 20% of the diet sort of push phases that you're going to pull out a Hail Mary from your ass and get it right, and all of a sudden you'll win a show. If you're in peak week and you aren't lean enough, whatever manipulation strategy you're going to do isn't going to work. If you're in peak week and you're still trying to dig down, you probably should have been leaner earlier, which is fine. That's a conversation that you can reassess how long you prep for, or how hard you went, or how fat you got in the off season. But the thing that I find most interesting is the way people try to manipulate, or they try to like vary or play around with that very simple process of trying to get to a decent carbohydrate level of filling the muscle cell, decent fat level of filling out the triglycerides, allowing the muscle to hold, look good, be fresh on stage, as in like the body itself doesn't look fatigued and drained because it hasn't been pushed to its limits the entire week of peak week. So being ready a little bit early. That is as simple as it really needs to be. Give or take, balancing out sodium, potassium, electrolytes, and your water. You're not trying to run all these fancy strategies. You're not trying to run all these fancy things and do all these super tricks and try and like pull everyone down and drain everything and, run the risk of fucking killing someone. That for some reason though gets lost.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people that start to fuck around in peak week, especially in an enhanced prep, and they start using all these different shits like diuretics and stuff like that. Most people are using, at the moment, from what we see, right, the people are using diuretics and stuff like that when they are trying to achieve a look. Like they're trying to obviously achieve this dried out sort of look, which, better conditioning. The issue with a diuretic is depending on, well, actually it doesn't matter which diuretic, either or, you need to be lean enough to use it. And if you still have fat, you're still going to look fat. You're just going to look fat and more watery. Because it's potassium sparing. So that's going to cause an influx of water. It's not going to do the opposite. It's not going to take it out, where people think, potassium takes water or shifts water out, which it does when you're lean enough.
Yes.
And that's sort of the other side to that little equation. that people forget about. So it's like, if you're not conditioned enough to start doing manipulations and stuff like that, well, then you just have to ride it out. You don't have a choice. The other thing is, when people start to look at manipulating like electrolyte balance and stuff like that, when it comes to peak week, it's like, you're not going for a pro carb. You're not needing that 1%, because it's probably what it is. It's literally one, maybe 2% difference with an electrolyte shift or a manipulation of electrolytes, and potentially using diuretics and stuff like that. To use, or to put yourself in that particular predicament where you risk health more so than what needs to be done, is the trade-off worth it? So if you're doing a state show, like, is it worth it? Probably not. If even like a national show, sure, where you're in the running for potentially a pro card, maybe there's a justification for it. But at the same time, at that point, you would have done quite a few preps, and you'd be pretty familiar with your physique and what you're accustomed to and what works and what doesn't. It's very rare that you get someone that does, like a first opening season, does like a stage show, goes to nationals, gets a pro card. It's not to say that it can't happen. It's just, it's highly
You're probably not
rare.
the person.
Yeah, like, it's highly rare. So unless you're, that complete outlier, message me. But if I'll sort you out. It's fine. Yeah, like, I'll be glad to run you through the peak week stuff, but no, that's fine. Yeah, like, I don't see a need for it. And then, yeah, like you mentioned about like fat loading and stuff like that, people don't realize that there is a very simple, scalable model now, because Scott Stevenson, who was the other person on the paper? I only know Scott Stevenson because I love Scott Stevenson. There was someone else on the, was it Brad Schoenfeld on the paper? It might have been, actually, now that I think about it. Hold on, I'll tell you. There was a paper that actually got released. Yeah, it was Brad Schoenfeld. That was released in 2021. Peak week recommendations for bodybuilders. It's literally an evidence-based approach. And they've basically broken down all the research and all the stuff that you can do when it comes to bodybuilding, peak weeks type stuff, and all the things affiliated with it. And they literally have like this really nice little like diagram, basically, that sums everything up, from like 6 days out type scenario, how to do it. They give you literally like carbohydrate, fat, protein, grams per kilo, like, like you can't fuck it up.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if people listening like, fuck Brad Schoenfeld, but definitely follow Scott Stevenson, Dr. Scott Stevenson, because the dude's an OG. Like, it's really simple. There's no manipulation of electrolytes. There's no manipulation of water. There's no manipulation of anything else other than putting fat in first, carbs in second. Simple. And it literally gives you a guide of how many grams per kilo. Like, follow it. It's really not fucking hard.
I think the over sexualization of it has come from this idea that these little strategies and tweaks can pull out a Hail Mary from somewhere. Like, it can make this massive 10-15% difference in the space of 5 days. Don't get me wrong. You can keep flattening out and dig out and just simply have a very low fill. Some people respond to low carbohydrates. My first season ever, I only had 300 carbs, and most of it came from potato and watermelon. And I look fucking unreal compared to what I did a few days before, but also dug down consistently. Like, my calories between nationals and states was like 1,000, 1,200, because it was literally only like, I think it was like a 5-day turnaround. And then at the Arnold's, it was like, by the time you got there for check-in, it was like the Friday. So I filled up after that. I was going to make weight easy. So did the Friday. And yeah, it was like, I don't know, 300 grams of carbs tops. And I started spilling after that, because I just didn't have the muscle mass. I didn't have the size. I didn't have the dryness, where it was like, okay, anything more than this is unnecessary. So again, you've got to understand, the carbohydrate filling is not just, we're not just throwing numbers and going, all right, fuck it, let's see what happens. There's strategies and reasoning to the situation. And we're also conscious of food selection, food timing, choices, digestion, bloat, retention. Are you spilling or are you feeling fat? Are you uncomfortable? Is it processing properly? Do you have the shits? Have you got like good? How do we know these things? Because what we've done in peak week is based entirely on the rest of the prep that's happened. So Michael's peak week running into this, I trialed the same strategy for refeed that I tried with him during his diet breaks, where I gave him 2-day fills and he had 5 lower days. So we tried that because he liked 2 700-gram carb days and how that worked. Now at 91 kilos, that put him to about, I think it was about what did that give him? 10 calories? No, about 8 calories per kilogram, which is okay. Fats went up to 80. So again, nearly a gram of fat per kilogram.
Yeah.
It didn't hold too well. He still looked very empty. So I was like, all right, well, this is what we tried. So in the trial, he assessed that based on the fact that this is what we've done in the rest of his prep. So we'll start with this. Then we looked at it and went, actually, he still has room to fill. He's a lot more on the conditioned end than most of the competitors in novice, so he has the risk to spill. I can increase that to 10 grams of carbs per kilogram. I can increase that to 1.5 grams of fat per kilogram. Let's load that in, see what that does. Gave him a third day. Looked fucking unreal.
Yeah, well, considering the recommendation for carb fill-up is anywhere between 4 and 12 grams per kilo.
Yeah, that's a big fucking window, right?
That's what I'm saying. So it's like, you start, you can start on the lower end, especially in a practice, provided you're lean enough in the practice week to do it. And, you start on the low to mid end and it's like, okay, well, what happened? Oh, all right. He doesn't look full enough. Cool. Let's go to the upper end. But I'd be very hard pressed to see anyone go past that 12 gram, I was about to say 12 milligram, 12 gram per kilo, go past that 12 gram per kilo fill up. Not to say that those people don't exist, but again, you take someone that's 100 kilos, like that's 12 grams
carbs a day.
Yeah, like that's a lot. You know what I mean? Like, I know people take 2,000 grams because they think that they're James Hollingshead at 85 kilos, but that's fine. We won't talk about those people.
Cool.
Come in watery as fuck and then blame their coach. Like, okay, dickhead. Your coach told you to have 400 grams because guess what? You only weigh 85 kilos. That's fine.
That's fine. We won't touch on that.
We won't talk about those people.
But like it's like these things, like these tweaks and these changes, or these rapid change or these drastic change trying to make. I'm going to enhance diuresis and I'm going to enhance the influx of aldosterone. I'm going to try and fluctuate and drain potassium and sodium out and cause these things to yada yada. Realistically, if you're consistent with water intake and you are lean enough, the likelihood is your body's ability to store fluid because it lacks glycogen and it lacks fats is pretty low. So you're going to have an increased rate of pissing. So there's not really a need to enhance diuresis if you're already lean enough where you're just gradually introducing the carbohydrates or you're depleted and you're dug down. Your body's going to keep pissing. So going for like this, I've got to get my body to this point, then pull out water and I'll piss all the water out. Well, no, because you're now just going to be flat, you're going to be soft, and your body's going to be pissing out sodium and potassium. So now you're unbalanced and you're going to lack the ability to control and put it back in. So why would you want to do that? We're looking at keeping as many variables as possible exactly the same because in your strategies and your trials, that's what worked. Exactly. We didn't tweak shit.
Yeah, exactly. And you start to see people who do all this other weird crap during peak week. And it's like people are like, well, if they're doing it, why am I not doing it? And it's like, well, look at your look.
Yeah.
Like, look how you look how they look. That's why they're probably trying to, do this, and this when we just need to cruise into comp. Like, we're good. Jill, kick it.
Like, I was actually surprised. I was not expecting Michael to respond this way. I gave him a maintenance week after his diet trial last week. So we did another trial, which was like, okay, this is what we're going to go with. I think that fits best. It's brought out a better look. He looks fresher, looks more relaxed. He had a whole maintenance week, or what is a presumed maintenance for all of last week. We started the depletion on Saturday because we knew that, like on the trial, the way we did it, we landed on Sunday because we we're doing posing catch-ups. So I was like, okay, we just shift this back a day. So from Sunday, we start depleting. Monday, Tuesday, drain him out. That's it. Put it down to the same deplete carbs that we've been using that had been done previously, and that was exactly what worked. This morning was his lightest ever. So he was 88 kilos. That wasn't intentional, but at the same time, I was like, his body is getting so far away from him that if we kept trying to rush or manipulate or dig down or do things unnecessarily, he's going to eat himself away and he would just lose the ability for me to fill him back up. It'd just be like the momentum of loss would be so great that it'd just be in a hole of recovery that I couldn't get out of. And now you're going to look like shit on stage. So having these diet breaks and these maintenance weeks was just a chance to offset and slow down that loss and get him a bit back from that fatigue look. So now comes the peak week, his body's going to hold some food.
Yeah, we're going to be absolutely fresh as thick. We're going to be fun.
Exactly. Like imagine like being in like such a conditioned state that you get 3 diet breaks the back end of a prep after trialing 1,500 and 2,100 carbs.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's like, really, it's not complex. It's just people do, and then also they also see like the pros, right? And the pros are like doing this,
Yeah.
this, and this, and they're like, oh my god, I need to do that. But it's like you're not a pro. You don't need to
Yeah.
do that. You're not 125 kilos of just pure
No.
muscle. Like you don't need to do what they do. You need to do what we need you to do
Hmm.
to look the way we know you can look on stage,
Hmm.
right? It's not very complex. It's just like shiny things, right? People see shiny things, they're like, I
Yeah.
want shiny things, and it's like, well, like give it time. Like
Yeah. Like, and me and you've had these conversations. I even had this conversation with Dolph back in the day when I was like, dude, I can't wait to get like 5,000 calorie like preps and shit like that. And he's like, yeah, like eventually, like
yeah,
that's
it's
the thing.
time.
Like, because I know that I'm someone that requires large amounts of food to change. I'm also someone who requires aggressively large amounts of deficit to change.
Mm.
But like, okay, that means that at some point that will adjust, and I will probably have larger amounts of calories if my goal is to be super heavy and shredded to have more food to hold that look. But again, you're seeing people that are coming into like natty bikini girls weighing 60 kgs talking about what strategies they're going to use and like how they fill up. If I see one more person that thinks because they've watched Hollins Head or Regan Grimes or fucking whatever have a burger and fries before stage, that's what they do in peak week, I'll fucking headbutt a brick wall.
Yeah,
The
I do like bikini girls thinking they need to actually fill.
It's not even a disrespecting. It's just simply you don't have the mass to require it.
Well, you're not telling even that you have the mass. You're not lean enough to fill. Like you're not. I mean,
Yeah,
you're not supposed to be that lean. I
yeah.
guess depending on the fed and stuff, like IFBB is probably going a little bit on the leaner side for bikini, but at the same time, it's like, really, like I don't know.
You could
I'd
probably
argue,
just
but
have a simple diet break or refeed meal and you'll be fine.
yeah, it's like you don't genuinely need to have like the whole 3 day
No.
carb up. Like, carbs maybe the night before, like a normal
Yeah.
good old fashioned meal, and you'd be right. But
Yeah.
anyway, we'll see how we go. It'd be
But
funny.
yeah, we end up with this position where like the biggest one of the single biggest mistakes you will make in peak week is trying to introduce foods that you've not introduced or had for the last 6 to 12 weeks.
Go have a burger.
Go have a burger, go have like deep
Yeah.
fried food, heavy trans
Dude,
oils, heavy
watching
carbohydrates you've not actually processed.
watching people eat hot chips for carb up. I'm sitting there like, God,
Oh man, your guts must fucking hate you.
like, why would you have hot fucking oily chips for? Like, you
Legit,
serious? Like
that is going to
the
hit your
comp the
stomach.
comp gives you a fucking lolly table, bro.
Legit,
Which I
legit.
completely smashed. I'm not gonna lie.
But like, especially because like bodybuilding, we know is like it's pretty like first off the rings, right? Like they get the biggest guys out of the way first. In
Yeah.
my logical processing, they try and get like the larger groups. Like, okay, there's more bodybuilders, classic physique guys, like that are in muscle mass size bigger.
Yeah.
So we'll get those guys out of the way first, so they don't flatten out across the day. Okay, fair enough. Now you're probably going to have one or two meals before you even get there. The lollies on stage should be the lollies that are there. If you're really desperate, should be plenty. Like sitting there smashing a bag of chips or like hot chips or whatever because like I don't know, you want those fats or you I don't know, want to introduce that risk. To me, if you haven't had that in the last 6 to 10 to 12 to 14 weeks, running the risk of introducing that variable now just fucking scares me.
Yeah.
It's like that
I'm
will
with you.
fuck your guts up. The digestibility and the rate of digestion and the impacts that's going to have with the effects of sodium, uncontrolled sodium, because you don't know how much fucking salt they put on it, the oils and the fats, the heat, the food, the carb source, like that to me is going to sit so heavy in my stomach that if I try to pull a vacuum, I'm going to shit myself.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, look, they may have had this whole hot chip carb up theory, in their practice weeks. And sure, if that's the look that if it worked for them, I can, see maybe a bit of fats and carbs going in, blah blah blah. But like we know that you probably want something that's a bit lighter in the stomach and a bit faster acting in terms of fill up. So that's why like most people go with rice cakes, rice crackers, that sort of stuff, because it doesn't sit in your gut, like it fills pretty quick. And you can still sort of do your stomach control stuff. So whether it's a vacuum or just simply, pushing the abs and stuff like that out. So yeah, I don't know. People are funny, but
You just also got to think and this is not even from a perspective of expertise. We look at like the stomach and your gut bacteria, your gut microbiome, and things like that. You have reduced food intake to probably 10 items in peak week over the
you completely change your microbiome.
You've completely changed that entire process and that eco environment. 10 foods, if you think about it, on average, the average person really varies about 40 food types in a week. Like you've cut that to 10 a day.
Yeah, it's the best part about post comp and watching people just like smash a pizza and donuts and shit, and then they're like, "My stomach feels like crap for the next 3 days." You're like, "Yeah," because when's the last time you had that food?
Yes, when did you have it? Which
Yeah,
is
like
why I kept it like post comp to like one cookie a day. I was like, I'm just gonna
yeah,
have a cookie. I'll have
yeah,
one, and I'm gonna keep protein meals, rice, carbohydrates,
yeah,
reintroduce vegetables again. But just looking at the like, I think the biggest concern for me is always the uncontrolled variables that people think is gonna like fix something or pull something out. We want as many variables controlled as possible, not as many that we can just throw out and be like, hey, let's just see what happens. Because at a certain point, it either is going to work or it's going to not work at all and be fucking completely terrible.
exactly right.
So probably the biggest advice when moving to questions is keep your peak week simple. By the time this lands, you're going to be on stage, but then you've got time to listen to this before nationals and go, you know, like, and again, I think we've already had this chat, but I had a girl message me right around the time of my prep,
Mm-hmm.
and her coach hit her with a burger and fries and a muffin on show day. Sorry, burger and fries the night before, and then a muffin on show
Yeah,
day.
I remember this. Yeah.
Though she only had like chicken and vegetables or fish and vegetables for like 6 weeks.
Hmm.
And then she's like, I was diuretic, I was fucking gassy, bloated, couldn't pose properly, I was watery. I was like, no shit. Why? Like, are you saying this with a degree of surprise here? Or like, is this supposed to be a shock to someone? You aren't a 140 kilo bodybuilder who probably needs the heavy amount of fucking fats and carbs to slow down and hold look. Like, you just aren't. That's
Exactly.
not a sexist thing. That's not a
Yeah,
dig at
it's
you.
not. It's
You
yeah,
just
it's
simply
not.
aren't.
It's not your fault.
Yeah.
It's like that's not a you thing. It's just how it is thing. Like anyway.
I don't know. Yeah, when I like moving to, and then, again, me and Michael had this conversation. I've moved him to simple, non-cruciferous vegetables, easy rices, meat sources that he's digested well the entire prep. His carb load is more of what he's already doing.
What's what
Not,
it's meant to be.
yeah, literally. It's like
It's
it's
just
what
more
have
of
you been
what you
doing?
currently eat.
More of what you're currently doing. So
Yeah.
rices, cream of rices, rice
Yeah.
cakes,
Hmm.
meats like fish or minces.
Yeah.
That's it.
Simple
Spreads,
as
nut spreads. Sorry, nut spreads and some fruit. So
yeah.
I'm like, get that stuff in. We're still ticking some boxes there. We're not going to be health focused for
No,
like
well,
2 3 days.
yeah, bodybuilding is not healthy, bro. Like
Yeah.
everyone
So
knows, it's
for
like
two to 3 days, you're not worried about taking micronutrients. You're about
but you're under
killing me
15
whole.
calories per kilogram, so it's a problem.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like you're gonna create an eating disorder.
Yeah, pretty good at that. So that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
My forte. But yeah. So I was like, and like I'm having him like this entire week. I sent him a list last Sunday of how I want this from this Sunday onwards to go. And in that list says anything that feels off, anything that feels disruptive, anything that feels like it's causing digestive issues, bloat, water retention, anything, stress, you tell me. Tell me straight away, tell me what it is and what meal. And we look and assess and modify. And I got some feedback. He saw Brooklyn this morning at the gym, and Brooklyn told me he was feeling a little bit bloated, but he'd also had like a heavy amount of carbs before he trained, because I said, get in that training session, like, and I've moved his training to very minimal amounts, just simply, I think it's like some, pumpish volume, 4 to 5 exercises, 3 to 4 sets, 15 to 20 reps, 12 to 15 reps, have some fun, move the food around, walk after every meal for a little bit, just like a light pace to help it digest, go back and relax, put your feet up. He's like, that felt better. I was like, cool.
Yeah, because less stress. Who would have thought?
Yeah, I was like, great. That's fantastic. So if that's helped, that's how we run the rest of your peak week. Do those things. If there's an issue outside of that, again, message me.
Exactly. We problem solve and we fix it.
But we've also got a shit ton of questions about peak week, so we may as well jump into those.
Let's do it.
Alrighty. So we've got a shit ton of peak week questions.
Let's do it.
Oof. So I said, what are some dumb things you've seen or dumb strategies you've seen in peak week? I got one here that said someone opting for Sour Patch Kids and a Powerade on their high carb day in peak week. I mean,
it's not like we don't use lollies and stuff like that, on the day and, in between pump ups and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah.
Definitely not a problem. I mean, it doesn't hurt to have it. Like it's not
I think for me, if it's like your high carb day or your fill day and you're a lower individual, like size,
well,
and you're wasting carbs on like
we need to look at fast and slow acting carbs, right? Or fast and
Of course,
I guess the easiest way to look at it. So it's like we know that Gatorade and lollies are going to be great quick. So it's like on
Yes.
comp day, like perfect
great
when you
idea.
need when you need to top up and stuff like that. Perfect,
Mhm.
straight in, it's going to do the job. But in the days leading to it, not to say that you can't have Gatorade if you're having a really high carb day and you know you're like you got to get fucking your calories in or your carbs in. Fucking sure, go for it. Orange juice, Gatorade, whatever makes you happy.
Mhm.
But you do want to predominantly get it from decent food because we want to be able to keep it, keep the
Mhm.
muscle full as much as we can.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas we know that, sports drinks and stuff like that, faster acting, glucose is going to be used as energy first.
Mhm. Eating 500 calories a day. That's a depletion.
Yeah, that's gross. I mean, it's not uncommon, but it's gross.
Yeah, it's fucking disgusting.
Yeah, hey, at the end of the day, you do what you got to do, right?
Yeah. How does fat load differ from traditional carb loading approach? Well, it's not really
Not,
different. It's a different mechanism. We're filling a different part of the process.
yeah,
When we look at the muscle cell, there is room for glycogen, there is room
yeah.
for triglycerides, and obviously inside that there's a mitochondria, your actual powerhouse of the cell, blah blah blah. But
The one
what
thing
we're
you learn in
Krebs
uni.
cycle, but we're looking at filling both because if
Yeah,
we only fill the carb side,
yeah,
there is still room of the muscle cell to
yeah.
expand more.
Well, it's like you're filling a balloon. You're not going to fill it, 3/4 of the way. You want to fill it, the full way. Do it. So you use both.
Exactly. Is it safe to load 10 liters of water a day and take out all salt and then add water back in?
100% do it.
Why not?
100% water
Fuck.
load. Yeah, no.
Fucking
Look, I'm
again.
I'm not a fan of water loading, especially for bodybuilding. There is just too many variables to get it wrong, and then
Mhm,
you come in watery as fuck on the day,
mhm.
which is always funny. And that's when people start scrambling, looking for diuretics and stuff. I'm too watery. I got to dry out. I got to dry out. And then they're like, shit, I probably should have kept water in because now I'm struggling. So yeah, no
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't
demineralized?
do it.
I wouldn't do it to answer that question. I wouldn't do it. So no. Safe depends on the word safe, but I'm also like safe for your show and look and the result you're trying to get. No. Um, is demineralized water worth it? No.
Nope.
Would you have an, would you rather have an underdeveloped chest forever or unable to build any hamstrings?
Ooh. I mean, if you're competing, that's tricky because you need both.
If you're just a bro
uh,
wanting to look good, you'd take the
yeah,
hamstrings because I can wear jeans.
yeah. I mean, well, no. Okay, so if underdeveloped hamstrings and have a chest is what you're
Yeah.
saying. If you're a
Yeah,
bro,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh, it's all about the beach muscles. If you're gonna
Yeah,
do that,
exactly.
like, yeah,
That's
hundred
what we
percent.
want.
If you're
It's the name
competing
of the
though, it's
game.
like, yeah, it's like, what would you rather? I mean, I feel like as a man, I'd rather have legs than a chest, but at the same time, it's kind of like you need to have a chest to be a man.
Yeah,
So, I don't know.
exactly.
It's a tricky one.
Um, will a diuretic help if you've eaten too many carbs? No, we've already been through this. It's not going to deplete carbohydrate or glycogen storage or over glycogen storage because you've eaten too much.
Huh?
Will a diuretic help if you've eaten too many carbs?
No.
The the biggest thing to take away from this entire episode is a diuretic is not a savior. It is not Jesus coming back on the third day and being like, fucking, I'm saving everyone. There's this weird notion or connotation that diuretics are this miracle pill you pop to somehow like save your prep or show. No.
No. That's just yeah. Anyway, we won't get into
Um,
diuretics. We'll be for ages.
how often do you check on clients during peak week? Every day, several times a day.
Yeah.
You need like you got like to really understand. Even if they're feeling fine, just touch in and see that they're feeling fine because the emotions and thoughts and battles that go on in your head leading into peak week is heavy. So, I literally got to the Friday of Arnold's and I was going to pull out when I was in Melbourne. Like, I was lucky Dolt was there with me because I was literally just sitting there being like, yeah, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to lose. And he basically just like slapped me in the face. So, like, just touch points several times a day. Photos, check in
Yeah.
photos after food's going in. Know that it's working. Posing with every meal. That sort of shit makes a huge difference. So, just getting those touch points and just checking in and seeing how their head's doing are just a huge, huge
Well,
points.
that's what we were doing. We were doing photos after food every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Is it worth taking caffeine out in peak week? I just think heavy. It was going like If it's impacting your sleep, sure, because we're not trying to increase cortisol and enhance water retention. But if you're, I don't know, like coffees and things like that, like lower dose of caffeine, I'm fine with.
Yeah, I don't see a need to take out caffeine from a physiological standpoint. It's not like it's going to be water retentive and all that sort of stuff. So,
Yeah,
if you're wanting to take it out purely because you're probably jacked on stimulants and you want to take
yeah,
a stimulant out, sure, you want to take it out, take
yeah,
it out. But yeah, I don't see a need for it to come out, from a physiological standpoint. It's more so if you feel like taking it out, take it out. The only thing I
yeah,
would say is that needs to change, and I think where a lot of people get it wrong is actually for those that are enhanced is the actual injection for that week. They really seem
yeah.
to people will seem to really forget that there is the leaner you get, the more of a swelling look you can have from a pin, like inflammation from that pin. It's not necessarily inflammation; it's really just a response from trauma to the site. So making sure that you do pin far enough out, or your last
Yep.
pin is far enough out, so that you give that site a chance to recover.
Yeah.
So that it's dry.
Agreed.
Or drier, especially like if it's gluten stuff like that, where you're trying to get glute striations and shit.
Introducing diuretics in peak week, risk, and should you trial response to them prior, even if you're higher body fat, just don't use them. If you're high body fat, you don't need them. That's not going to be a problem solver.
When pros say they don't use them and they're winning shows, then there's no reason for you to use them.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
Can you carb up on just chocolate? I mean, it's more of a carb fat load, but sure.
I mean, you can. I just don't know how your stomach would go with it.
Yeah, it's fucking. Imagine like a 5,000 calorie day of just protein sources and chocolate.
It's like, can you? Sure. Would you? Probably not.
What role does fiber play during peak week? Well, there's, I guess, several roles it's going to play. Main thing is, well, some of the main things, we still want to digest food. We still want food to move through. We still want food to be processing properly, because blocking up and being backed up and feeling like a bag of dicks and bloating is probably not a good idea for peak week or getting on stage. So that's a big one. Another one is going to be the food selections you make are going to play a role in food digestion and rate of digestion. So how slowly is that food being absorbed? How well is it holding? How fast is it going through my body? Because your body in peak week is literally a fucking thermos. A thermos? No, what's the word?
Furnace.
A furnace.
Furnace.
Yeah. Yeah.
Furnace.
Yeah.
It's hot.
Yeah, it's fucking hot. It's literally just churning and burning everything. It will just want to process shit. So making sure that you're slowing foods down to not as best you can, but slowing down digestion. So you're not just dumping everything in your stomach and then end up with the squirts, but also that you're actually holding look and your body is taking its time and it's actually holding the look we want to have on stage. Food is being absorbed properly and digested properly. Fiber plays its role. It's just that you don't want large amounts of cruciferous fermentable foods that are going to lead to bloating and distension.
Yep, fair.
Importance of carb timing during peak week.
I mean, yeah, like we do have. So if we want to run this as accurately as possible, we probably want to try and time meals the same each day leading into comp. So let's say you're doing a 3-day carb load. For those 3 days, you want to try and put food in at least for the first 2 days at the same times each day. That way, we know that the body works basically on these rhythms, like circadian type rhythms. Basically everything that we do. So, with digestion and stuff like that as well, it works the same way. So the idea is that on game day, comp day, you want to have an empty stomach in the morning before you go in and start your show, right? So
yeah,
we need to find the routine or the rhythm that gets you that empty stomach that morning. So getting your food right and timing right is huge. Especially then with carbohydrates, especially if carbohydrates are fibrous carbohydrates or not, will then also determine food timing and stuff like that. So yeah, it definitely plays a big part.
Agreed. Worst, dumbest one I saw. A figure competitor who traveled overseas used a well-known American coach who dehydrated her for 2 days on the flight, so she looked dry when she landed, and she was only allowed to have white fish and lettuce.
Oh yeah, I mean, how'd she place?
Terribly.
She's like
flat as fuck. Going by.
If she placed well, then worth it. If not, well, then stupid. It's not something I'd probably encourage or do, but hey, each to their own.
Question for peak week. maxing out during peak week. Well,
From
why?
a training perspective, no. You're at
Yeah.
like usually at your lowest energy. So it's like, you're probably, if it enhanced, you're at your highest drug intake, which is always nice, but what are you going to gain from the potential risk of injury versus just
Yeah, the
not even
trauma of
training?
that training.
I mean, really, like when you look at it, you probably don't necessarily need to even train in peak week, to be honest, with most people. The goal is to obviously drop as much inflammation as possible and then get a pump up, on the day of.
Hmm.
A lot of people do still train through peak week, but it's really light, really pumpy sets.
Hmm.
Move a bit, really more probably from an energy expenditure standpoint to try and just get that last little bit out where they can.
Hmm.
You're not gaining anything
No.
during that period, so what's the point? Yeah.
Yeah. No. And like the risks of injury that come from being in the period of peak week, if you really think about it, we have culminated our entire deficit phase to land at this date so that you're at your hungriest, your emptiest, your leanest, your most shredded, leanest body fat, which means most fucked hormone balances. Nothing about your system is designed to be lifting and training heavy right now. So
Exactly right.
why does it make sense to do it?
Well,
You're
considering
not,
everything you're doing is supposed to be for recovery.
yeah, legit. At this point
Like,
of like we're putting food back in and slowing down rate of loss and enhancing recovery so that you look better. So why
yeah,
would you decrease that or fuck with it?
exactly.
I think yeah, too many people have watched like the old blood and guts Branch Warren type videos where they're just like
Hey man, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. However, we know that things have changed since then.
yes, exactly. If you want to just watch some heavy as fuck training, great.
And the thing is, who do you know genuinely trains like that? Like, come on.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
one.
You
No
got,
one.
you got one guy.
Yeah, no one trains like that. Come on.
That's all my questions.
I did have a couple. What we got? It's getting colder and the meal plan doesn't seem to cut it. Getting hungrier more often. Is this a seasonal thing? So, it depends whether you're in a cut or a growth phase, obviously. But with winter coming, you're probably going to notice your body doing more activity subconsciously. So you're going to be just to keep the body warm. So it's, your body's mechanism to keep warm will be like, bouncy toes, shake your hands. Like that's what like, shaking and all that comes to, which does, don't get me wrong. It's not like it uses much energy, but it does use energy. So that in turn can also create, I guess, a bit more of a deficit. Now, how much of a deficit does that create? Like, it's probably not much. Is it enough to probably feel the effects of hunger? I mean, everyone's a little bit different. It could be that there's just other things going on in your life, like stress and shit, that's probably making you more hungry than anything.
I think the big side to it in terms of like being seasonal is what is your psychosocial reflection
Yeah,
of what that year means?
yeah,
Like that plays a large part in not so much in
well,
hunger activation, but it will if you know winter as a fact of like, warm meals and family time and this and that, and you're fucking hungry already, your brain's gonna be like, hey, why aren't we doing this and having all these meals?
yeah. And the other thing is also when it's cold, right? You start putting on more clothes, so you get warmer. By definition, you get warmer, you burn more energy.
Yeah.
Something so small and simple, but it's like, yeah, well, you get hotter by wearing more clothes. Well, you probably potentially get more hungry. Today Show or Sunrise? Neither. I don't watch morning television.
Either. I'd punch myself in the face.
Instagram Reels? No, I don't know. Is trend cough real? Yes.
Yes.
Can confirm from anecdotal experience. I actually haven't looked at any like science towards it. I have seen actually I did see something once. I don't remember it, but yeah, it is a thing. Um, will semaglutide be commonly used in bodybuilding preps? Yep, because people are stupid. It's definitely not necessary, but don't worry about the diabetics that actually require it. We'll
Yeah, I
just
think there's a shortage in Europe at the moment because it's been so hijacked by people just wanting to be less hungry.
yeah, there's a shortage everywhere, man. It's crazy. And the last question I got was, how does one obtain the will to live?
How does one obtain the will to live?
Man, yeah, see a site.
Is that is that from a follower who's usually satirical, or is that a serious question?
The joke. I don't even know if the person listens to the podcast, but anyway.
We just go to town on that for like a half-hour philosophy session.
Yeah,
Don't even care, bro.
We're not even going to do that. Just see a psych out of our scope. Just handball that one. And that is
Dr.
all.
Phil, Oprah,
Literally.
please, a professional help.
That's it from me.
It's us.
Anything we need to know about going on, shit coming up besides comp and me coming up?
No,
No.
no,
No, same
we're
shit, different day.
getting through this sort of phase. I'll return to course design and whatnot after this because it's pretty hectic. And you know, as much as I like putting out stuff that helps other people, I don't want to take away from the clients that are paying me first and our community and what we're doing.
Totally fair. Understandable. I got nothing going on. So that's really it.
Sick.
All right, guys and girls, as always, thank you for tuning in. Any questions, concerns, throw them in the question box on a Wednesday morning or just DM Ben. We will
Sure.
chat to you next week. Goodbye.
See you guys.